In a heated showdown like no other, Karoline Leavitt faced off against a liberal reporter determined to twist the truth. But what happened next left the entire nation speechless. With facts in hand and a fiery resolve, Karoline didn't just push back, she destroyed the lies, exposing a shocking agenda hidden in plain sight. This live clash wasn't just a debate, it was a battle for truth. And you won't believe how it ended. The reporter wasted no time and launched straight into accusations. From the moment the first question was asked, it was clear that the intent was to discredit Trump's presidency. Words like divisive, corrupt, and dangerous were thrown around with ease. Karoline, however, was ready. She had been here before, battling similar claims and fighting to bring the truth to light. This wasn't just a political debate for her, it was personal. "You claim Trump divided this country," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Let's look at the facts. During his administration, we saw record-breaking economic growth, the lowest unemployment rates for minority groups, and a stronger middle class. Are those the results of a divisive leader? Or are they the signs of policies that actually worked for the American people?" Her tone was measured, but her words carried weight. The reporter attempted to interrupt, but Karoline didn't let them. She raised her hand slightly, signaling that she wasn't finished. "If we're going to have this discussion, let's base it on facts, not feelings. The American people deserve better than that." It was the first of many moments that would leave the audience captivated. As the conversation continued, the tension in the room grew thicker. The reporter leaned forward, their expression a mix of frustration and determination. They accused Trump of prioritizing the wealthy, of ignoring the needs of everyday Americans. But Karoline came prepared. She cited specific examples, pointing out how Trump's tax cuts had directly benefited middle-class families and small businesses. "You can have your opinions about Trump as a person," she said, her voice unwavering. "But when it comes to his policies, the numbers speak for themselves. Millions of Americans saw real improvements in their lives. That's not a narrative, that's reality." The audience watching at home was hooked, unable to turn away from the battle unfolding on their screens. The debate began to shift as the reporters' arguments started to falter under Karoline's relentless pursuit of the truth. It became clear that their accusations were built more on headlines and narratives than on solid evidence. The reporter brought up the usual talking points, criticizing Trump's handling of various crises and accusing him of being reckless. But Karoline wasn't about to let them control the conversation. She leaned forward slightly, her expression calm but intense. "Let's talk about specifics," she said. "You mentioned Trump's handling of the economy. Do you realize that during his administration, we had the lowest unemployment rates in decades? That wages were rising for workers across the board? These are facts that affected millions of families in this country." The reporter tried to shift gears, moving the conversation to foreign policy. They criticized Trump's approach to international relations, calling it chaotic and unprofessional. Karoline smiled faintly, as if anticipating this argument. "You call it chaotic," she said, "but I call it effective. Trump brokered historic peace deals in the Middle East, something previous administrations failed to achieve. He stood up to China, protecting American jobs and industries. How is that a failure?" Her ability to stay focused and direct left the reporters scrambling for a response. They began to rely on vague statements, claiming Trump's policies were harmful in the long run. But Karoline didn't let them off the hook. She pressed for specifics, asking for concrete examples to back up their claims. The reporter stammered, clearly unprepared for her sharp questions. As the minutes ticked by, it became evident that the reporter was outmatched. Karoline wasn't just defending Trump, she was dismantling the false narratives that had been built around his presidency. The audience could see the cracks in the reporter's arguments, and the tension in the room only grew. The debate took a dramatic turn when Karoline shifted the focus to media bias. She called out the mainstream media for their role in shaping public perception of Trump. "The media has a responsibility to report the truth," she said, her tone serious. "But too often, we see stories that are twisted to fit a particular narrative. How can the American people trust what they're hearing when the truth is being manipulated?" The reporter's face hardened, clearly uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. They tried to defend the media, claiming that they simply report the fact. But Karoline wasn't buying it. She pointed out several instances where the media had run with stories about Trump that were later proven false. "When those stories are corrected," she said, "it's always too late. The damage is done, and the public is left with a false impression." Her words resonated with the audience, many of whom had grown weary of the media's coverage of Trump over the years. The reporter attempted to redirect the conversation, but Karoline held firm. She asked pointed questions, demanding accountability for the media's role in spreading misinformation. One of the most powerful moments came when Karoline looked directly into the camera and addressed the viewers. "You deserve better," she said. "You deserve to know the truth, not just the parts that fit someone's agenda." Don't let anyone tell you what to think. Do your own research. Ask questions. The truth is out there, you just have to look for it. Her words hung in the air, leaving both the reporter and the audience stunned. It was a defining moment in the debate, one that would be replayed and shared across social media for days to come. As the debate continued, the liberal reporters shifted their strategy. Instead of focusing on facts, they began using emotional appeals to sway the audience. Trump created an atmosphere of fear and hatred, they declared. He divided families, caused unrest, and brought out the worst in people. Karoline remained composed, though the accusations were harsh. She didn't deny that America had faced challenges during Trump's presidency, but she wasn't about to let false narratives define the discussion. Emotions are powerful, she began, her tone calm but firm. But emotions alone don't tell the full story. We can't ignore the facts just because they don't fit the narrative we want. The reporter leaned in, pressing harder. What about the protests and riots during his time in office? What about the divisions in our communities? They asked, clearly hoping to catch Karoline off guard. But she was ready. Protests and unrest didn't start with Trump, Karoline said. They are symptoms of deeper issues that have been present in this country for decades. What matters is how we respond. Trump called for law and order, and he worked to protect communities from violence. He condemned violence on all sides. Yet the media twisted his words to paint a different picture. She paused, giving the audience time to absorb her words. And let's not forget, she added, that Trump's administration created programs aimed at improving education, job opportunities, and economic empowerment for minority communities. Those are real solutions, not just words or empty promises. The tension in the room was almost palpable. The reporter tried to regain control of the conversation, but Karoline's ability to stay focused and fact-based was making it increasingly difficult. Every emotional claim was met with a clear, logical rebuttal. It was a masterclass in staying grounded amidst chaos. As the debate reached its midpoint, both sides were visibly tense. The liberal reporter was running out of steam, while Karoline remained steady and determined. At this point, the reporter tried a new tactic, bringing up Trump's personal controversies. They listed various scandals and accusations that had been heavily covered by the media over the years. Karoline didn't flinch. She knew this was coming, and she had a strategy in mind. We're not here to discuss personal attacks or tabloid gossip, she said, her voice steady. We're here to talk about policies and their impact on the American people. That's what matters. The reporter persisted, clearly hoping to draw Karoline into a heated exchange. But Karoline stayed focused. Every president has faced criticism, she said. But the question we should be asking is, did the policies work? Did they help the American people? She then listed Trump's accomplishments once again: historic tax cuts, a booming economy, increased national security, and progress in foreign relations. You can dislike the man, she added, but you can't ignore the results. Her ability to stay calm under pressure only strengthened her position. Viewers watching at home could see the difference between the two debaters, one relying on emotional accusations, the other sticking to facts and reason. It was clear which side was winning. With the debate nearing its end, Karoline returned to one of the most critical issues: media bias. Too often, we see stories that are more about pushing a narrative than presenting the truth, she said. This is a serious problem, because the media has the power to shape public opinion. The reporter tried to brush off her comments, claiming that the media was simply holding leaders accountable. But Karoline wasn't convinced. She pointed out specific examples where the media had reported misleading information about Trump, only to quietly correct their stories after the damage had been done. Accountability is important, Karoline said. But accountability needs to be based on truth, not assumptions or half-truth. When the media pushes false narratives, they aren't just hurting one person, they're hurting the entire country. Her words struck a chord with the audience. Many Americans had grown weary of the constant barrage of negative news about Trump, and Karoline was voicing frustrations that many had felt for years. The liberal reporter, sensing that they were losing control of the debate, attempted one final attack. But Karoline didn't back down. She stayed calm, confident, and focused on the facts. By the time the debate ended, it was clear that she had come out on top. As the debate concluded, social media exploded with reactions. Clips of Karoline's most powerful moments were shared and replayed thousands of times. Viewers praised her for standing up to the liberal media and defending the truth. Karoline, however, remained humble. In a post-debate interview, she thanked her supporters but emphasized the importance of staying informed. "This isn't about me," she said. "It's about the American people knowing the truth. We can't let anyone, whether it's politicians or the media, control the narrative. We have to think for ourselves." Her words resonated with millions of viewers. The debate wasn't just a clash of opinions, it was a turning point in the battle for truth. Karoline's victory wasn't just about winning an argument. It was about inspiring others to stand up for what they believe in and to seek out the truth, no matter how hard it may be to find. In the days that followed, Karoline's name became synonymous with strength, determination, and truth. And while the debate may have ended, her fight for the truth was far from over. In the days following the debate, Karoline Leavitt's performance continued to dominate headlines and social media discussions. Political commentators, news outlets, and everyday citizens all weighed in on the fiery exchange. Some hailed Karoline as a defender of truth and logic, while others criticized her for being too assertive. Regardless of opinions, one thing was clear: she had made an undeniable impact. Social media platforms were flooded with clips of the debate, especially the moments where Karoline directly challenged the liberal reporter's claims. Hashtags like #KarolineDestroysLies and #TruthOverNarrative began trending. People from all walks of life praised her for standing her ground and refusing to be silenced. Finally, someone who speaks for us, wrote one viewer in the comments section of a popular news page. She's not just talking, she's backing it up with facts. The liberal media, however, wasn't about to let Karoline's success go unchecked. Several outlets published articles that attempted to discredit her performance. They claimed she had avoided answering tough questions and had used talking points to distract from the issues. But Karoline was ready for this too. Instead of staying silent, Karoline took to her social media platforms to address the criticism head-on. In a video post, she calmly refuted the claims, using clips from the debate to prove her point. It's unfortunate that some people are still more interested in pushing a narrative than having an honest discussion, she said. But I'm not going to back down. The truth matters, and I'll continue to stand up for it. Her message struck a chord with her supporters. More and more people began sharing her post, and the conversation around the debate only grew louder. Karoline's ability to remain calm under pressure and stay focused on facts had earned her a reputation as a formidable debater and a rising star in political commentary. Amid the growing attention on Karoline, the liberal reporter involved in the debate found themselves in a difficult position. Many viewers had noticed the reporter's reliance on vague statements and emotional appeals during the debate. Even some of their supporters began questioning the strength of their argument. In an effort to save face, the reporter appeared on a popular news program to give their side of the story. They claimed that the debate had been unfairly framed and accused Karoline of using debating tricks to manipulate the conversation. However, this explanation didn't sit well with many viewers. Karoline's supporters quickly pointed out that she had simply asked for specifics and facts, something any good journalist or commentator should be prepared to provide. If asking for facts is a debating trick, then we're in big trouble, one commenter wrote. Karoline, once again, responded with grace. In a public statement, she reiterated her commitment to open and honest discussions. Debates are about challenging ideas and seeking the truth, she said. If we can't have tough conversations without resorting to excuses, then we're not doing our job as commentators or journalists. Her response further solidified her reputation as a strong and principled voice. People began calling for more debates featuring Karoline, eager to see her continue to challenge false narratives and defend the truth. What started as a single debate quickly grew into something larger. Inspired by Karoline's example, more people began speaking out against media bias and misinformation. Social media groups and pages dedicated to promoting factual discussions began to pop up, and Karoline became a central figure in this growing movement. Her inbox was flooded with messages of support. People shared stories of how they had once felt powerless against the media's constant narrative, but now felt inspired to seek out the truth for themselves. "You've shown us that we don't have to accept everything we're told," one message read. "We can ask questions and demand better." Karoline saw this as an opportunity to take her mission even further. She began hosting live discussions and Q&A sessions, inviting people from all political backgrounds to share their thoughts and ask questions. Her goal wasn't to push any particular agenda, it was to encourage open dialogue and critical thinking. These sessions quickly gained popularity, attracting thousands of viewers. People appreciated Karoline's willingness to listen and her commitment to fostering respectful conversations. "This is what we've been missing," one viewer commented. "A place where we can actually talk and learn from each other." As Karoline's influence grew, so did the pushback from certain media outlets and political figures. Some began labeling her as dangerous and accused her of spreading misinformation, despite her clear reliance on facts and evidence. It was a familiar tactic: when you can't win the argument, discredit the messenger. But Karoline refused to be intimidated. She continued to speak out, knowing that her fight was bigger than just one debate or one person. "The truth doesn't belong to any political party or ideology," she said during one of her live sessions. "It belongs to all of us, and if we don't stand up for it, who will?" Her words resonated deeply with her audience. More and more people began calling out media bias and demanding accountability from journalists and commentators. It was a groundswell of support that couldn't be ignored. Looking back on the debate that started it all, Karoline knew that her journey was far from over. There would always be challenges and obstacles, but she was ready for them. She had found her voice, and she wasn't about to let anyone silence it. Her story became a symbol of courage and determination, a reminder that one person, armed with the truth, can make a difference. And while the battle for truth would continue, Karoline Leavitt had already proven that she was more than up to the task. The movement she inspired was just the beginning. As more people stood up and spoke out, a new era of accountability and transparency began to take shape. And at the center of it all was Karoline, leading the charge with unwavering strength and an unshakable commitment to the truth. Karoline's influence continued to grow as more people recognized her dedication to truth and fairness. Supporters from all over the country began reaching out, asking her to speak at events, participate in town halls, and even consider running for public office. Karoline remained humble but saw the potential to use her platform for even greater impact. She launched an initiative called Truth Talks, a nationwide series of open discussions aimed at fostering civil conversations about politics, media, and public policy. These events were designed to bring people together from different backgrounds and perspectives, encouraging respectful dialogue rather than divisive arguments. Karoline believed that understanding each other's viewpoints was the first step toward unity. At her first Truth Talks event, hundreds of people gathered in a community center to hear her speak. Karoline opened with a simple message: "We may not agree on everything, but we all deserve the truth. Together, we can hold those in power accountable and make our country stronger." The audience erupted in applause. For many, it was refreshing to hear someone focused on solutions rather than partisan rhetoric. People asked thoughtful questions, and Karoline answered each one with honesty and transparency. By the end of the event, attendees left feeling empowered and hopeful for the future. As Karoline's movement gained momentum, so did the efforts to discredit her. Certain media outlets began publishing hit pieces, accusing her of being a polarizing figure who was stirring up division. Social media trolls flooded her pages with negative comments, hoping to discourage her. But Karoline refused to be silenced. In a public statement, she addressed the criticism head-on. "Standing up for the truth isn't always easy," she said. "But I'm not here to win popularity contests. I'm here to fight for what's right. And no amount of criticism or smear campaigns will change that." Her supporters rallied behind her, flooding social media with messages of encouragement. "We've got your back, Karoline," one post read. "Keep fighting the good fight." The outpouring of support only strengthened her resolve. Despite the challenges, Karoline remained focused on her mission. She continued hosting Truth Talks events, participating in debates, and sharing factual content on her social media platforms. Every new attack only fueled her determination to keep pushing for honesty and accountability. The movement reached a turning point when a major news outlet invited Karoline to participate in a nationally televised debate on media bias. It was a high-stakes event, and millions of viewers tuned in to watch. Karoline knew this was her chance to reach an even larger audience and set the record straight. The debate was intense from the start. Her opponent, a well-known journalist, tried to paint Karoline as an extremist, accusing her of spreading dangerous ideas. But Karoline remained calm and composed. She methodically addressed each accusation with facts, refusing to be rattled by personal attacks. At one point, the journalist claimed that Karoline's movement was based on misinformation and conspiracy theories. Karoline responded with a powerful statement that left the audience stunned. If seeking the truth and holding the media accountable is considered dangerous, then maybe we need to rethink what we value as a society. "I'm not here to divide, I'm here to unite people through honesty and transparency." Her words struck a nerve. Viewers flooded social media with praise, calling the debate a game-changer and hailing Karoline as a voice for the people. Even some of her critics acknowledged that she had handled the debate with grace and integrity. With her movement now firmly established, Karoline began focusing on long-term goals. She partnered with educational organizations to create programs that taught critical thinking and media literacy, helping people identify biased or misleading information. "The best defense against misinformation is education," she said. "If we can empower people to think critically, we can build a stronger, more informed society." Karoline also launched a podcast series where she interviewed experts on various topics, from politics and media to economics and social issues. The podcast quickly became a hit, attracting listeners who appreciated her honest and balanced approach. Each episode ended with a call to action, encouraging listeners to stay informed and engaged in their communities. Her efforts didn't go unnoticed. Karoline received invitations to speak at universities, conferences, and even international forums. People from all walks of life were eager to hear her message and join the movement for truth and accountability. As time passed, Karoline Leavitt became a household name, a symbol of fearless advocacy for truth and accountability. Her journey from a single, fiery debate to leading a national movement for transparency had inspired millions. But her success wasn't just about one viral moment, it was about the long-term impact she had on political discourse and public awareness. Karoline had never sought fame or accolades. For her, the fight was always about protecting the integrity of information and creating a world where people could trust what they were told. She believed that democracy thrived when citizens were well-informed and empowered to think critically. It was a simple yet powerful mission, and Karoline had dedicated herself to it fully. Her movement, Truth Talks, had grown into a nationwide network of activists, educators, and everyday citizens committed to fostering open dialogue and holding the media accountable. The initiative wasn't just about debates or speeches, it was about providing tools and resources for people to discern fact from fiction. Karoline worked tirelessly to ensure that schools, community groups, and even online platforms had access to these tools. She believed that empowering the next generation with critical thinking skills was one of the most effective ways to combat misinformation. Her podcast, which had started as a small passion project, had become one of the most popular shows in the country. Each episode featured in-depth conversations with thought leaders, journalists, historians, and even her critic. Karoline wasn't afraid of differing opinions, she welcomed them. Her listeners appreciated her willingness to ask tough questions and her commitment to fairness. The podcast had become a beacon of hope for those tired of sensationalized news and divisive rhetoric. Despite her growing influence, Karoline remained grounded. She continued to engage directly with her supporters, reading their messages and attending as many Truth Talks events as her schedule allowed. She often shared personal stories about the challenges she had faced along the way, the moments of self-doubt, the relentless criticism, and the times when it felt like the odds were stacked against her. "We all have our battles," she would say. "But the important thing is to keep fighting for what's right." One of the most memorable moments of her career came when she was invited to speak at a global summit on media ethics. Leaders, journalists, and activists from around the world had gathered to discuss the future of information and the role of the media in society. Karoline's speech was heartfelt and inspiring. She spoke about the importance of transparency, the dangers of misinformation, and the need for humility in journalism. Her words resonated deeply with the audience, many of whom gave her a standing ovation. "Truth isn't a weapon to be used against those we disagree with," she said. "It's a light that should guide us all. And when we lose sight of that, we lose sight of what it means to be a just and informed society." Her speech was covered extensively in the media, with many calling it a defining moment in the global fight for media reform. Karoline had once again shown that she wasn't just a fierce debater, she was a compassionate and principled leader with a vision for a better world. But Karoline's journey wasn't without its sacrifices. The constant scrutiny and pressure took a toll on her personal life. There were times when she felt overwhelmed by the weight of her responsibilities. Yet, through it all, she found strength in her purpose and in the support of those who believed in her. One evening, during a quiet moment after a particularly intense day, Karoline reflected on everything she had accomplished. She thought about the young woman she had been at the start of her journey, passionate but unsure of how to make a difference. And now, here she was, leading a movement that had changed lives and sparked conversations around the world. "I didn't do this alone," she reminded herself. "This was never just about me. It was about all of us standing together for the truth." Her humility and gratitude only deepened her connection with her supporters. They saw her not as an untouchable figure, but as someone just like them, someone who cared deeply about fairness and justice and was willing to put in the hard work to make a difference. As the movement continued to grow, Karoline began mentoring a new generation of leaders. She saw so much potential in the young people who were stepping up to carry the torch. They were passionate, driven, and committed to building on the foundation she had laid. Karoline took great pride in their progress, knowing that the future of the movement was in good hands. In the end, Karoline's legacy was more than just her debates or speeches. It was the countless lives she had touched and the culture of accountability she had helped create. People no longer felt powerless in the face of media manipulation, they felt empowered to ask questions, demand better, and seek out the truth for themselves. As the years went by, Karoline remained a steady and inspiring presence. Her influence only grew, but her mission never changed. She continued to fight for truth, transparency, and unity with the same passion that had driven her from the start. And while the battle for honesty and accountability would always be ongoing, one thing was certain: Karoline Leavitt's courage, integrity, and unwavering commitment to justice had left an indelible mark on the world. Her story would be remembered not just as a tale of one woman's triumph, but as a testament to the power of truth and the enduring spirit of those who stand up for what's right. The future was brighter because of her. And for those who had followed her journey, Karoline's message would live on: never stop seeking the truth and never stop fighting for what you believe in.